management system. So that is appearing here. So class 4, 5, 6, 7 is plan, 8 is do, 9 is check, and 10 is act. So if you look at 8, that's what the core class, operation. So here most of the operational process, we could say, it is covered under this particular class. When we discussed about the scoring methodology, there is one process effectiveness assessment report, right? Those are all used under this particular class. Yeah, is my audio and video is clear now? Yeah, thank you. Okay, so now we will start with the basic requirement of the standard. So scope, we have already discussed. This standard is applicable only to the rolling stock organization and signaling component organization. So other people are not eligible for this certificate. IRIS rules are very clear. You have to make sure your product is listed under that product table, which we have already seen some time back. And this excluding the people who are operating the railway transportation and the service who provides the railway transport. For them, it is not applicable. The purpose of the standard is focusing on continual improvement, defect prevention, defect reduction in the entire supply chain. And the one more aspect is very critical here, enhancing sustaining product quality and safety aspects. This training is not video based training, sir, please, it's only audio based training. Okay, so now normative references. We all know there is a basic standard ISO 9000 fundamentals and vocabulary. That is what I referred. Some of the terms is used in the standard. You can also verify here. There is one more online IEC Electropedia, not Wikipedia. Remember, it's IEC Electropedia. You can refer that. And also ISO has their own dictionary, online dictionary. You can refer in this two standard if you want to know some other terminology. And there are a lot of new terminologies used in this ISO TS 22163, like life cycle cost, quality deficiency cost, RAMs, a lot of new terms we are going to use. You can refer the standard. There we can see a lot of terms. A lot of abbreviations are also used. Today I have discussed this, right? EPPS, right? So what it is? This is like what typically we used in class number 8.4, right? That is what it is. That FAI, that is a term used in this business, first article inspection. Then FMEA, most of aware about this. And FMECA, that is one tool you recommended by railway business. It's only recommended, not mandatory. Then FRACAS, that is another requirement, failure reporting analysis and corrective action system. And we discussed this KPI, LCC, PDCA, we all aware, QDC, RAM, reliability, availability, maintainability. When it's come to RAMs, safety is addition to it. Then we use the word RQMS or RailQMS, right? That is what railway business. Like this, a lot of abbreviations are used in the standard. So now, so what I am going to do now is, I'm not going to walk through entire requirements. What are the additional key requirement in IRIS standard? We are going to discuss that. So class 4 talks about context of the organization. So what we need to do, class 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, there is no additional requirement. Whatever written in ISO 9001, that is reflecting here. But there are a few additional requirement under 4.4.3. So this 4.4.3 mainly talks about, you have identified a lot of processes as part of your QMS. As part of 4.4, you are going to identify what are the processes in your business, right? So these processes must be documented. That's what they have addressed in 4.4.3. So all processes must be documented, and this process must have the approach of PDCA, risk-based thinking, and turtle approach. And you need to define what is the document hierarchy structure you are going to follow. Level 1, level 2, level 3, like that. That should be addressed. And every process must be communicated. The concerned process owners needs to be trained, and we have to apply and adhere. Look at this, each word is shall requirement. You need to prove that your process documents are communicated. The relevant persons are trained on those process documents. And you have to prove that those people are applying these processes and adhering these processes. And you have to ensure and conform your business management system and processes with the regulatory requirements. And of course, in line with this ISO TS 22163. So this is a unique requirement. So how we are going to demonstrate this? In your organization, you have a lot of processes and procedures have documented, correct? For example, let's take example, we have a procedure for engineering. How a person who newly joined in engineering team, how the person is aware about, yes, I have a procedure, this is my engineering procedure, how the person get trained, how the person got communication about this particular procedure. So that we need to think. Can you please tell what is the process we have in our own organization, how we are going to demonstrate this particular class? If your organization is already certified for IRAs, I think your process are already established. You have documented your process. Now my concern is how it will be communicated. A person is newly joined an engineering team, how it will be communicated to them? We do induction training, fine, but other than that, how you will ensure the person is trained on that procedure? So this is what the whole additional requirement is, and it is applicable to every quality management system process what you have identified. I just took engineering as an example. So this is what the typical turtle diagram recommended by IRIS. So this is there in IRIS certification rule. You look at this diagram. Most of us are familiar with this turtle approach, right? So in this turtle approach, they have added one more component here: risks and opportunities. And what is the input to your own process? So who are all your internal process supplier? Who are all your external process supplier? The similar way, who are all your internal process customer and who are all your external process customer? So this is one way of demonstrating your business management system. So this is one unique requirement we need to adhere. This is what only one additional requirement in class 4. Now, so coming to class 5, leadership. So leadership playing a lot of attention in this entire new version of quality management systems. Previously, we used the word top management commitment, right? Now that is being replaced with this word leadership. So in class 5, the main concern here is, if you look at this diagram, we used to have one diagram, right? There is a big circle, there are a lot of inputs come to your business. So you just look at the diagram. This is the diagram I would like to project. See this, the circle is our quality management system, our business. There are a lot of inputs goes into our business, like customer requirement, our business requirement, our stakeholder requirements, right? Now look at the position of leadership. So leadership playing a vital role in any business management system. So what they are emphasizing is the top management are accountable for the effectiveness of QMS. That too, in particular railway business management system, the role of top management is very crucial. The standard has some unique requirement under leadership for top management. The very first one additional requirement here is quality policy. Every management system, quality management system talks about you must have a quality policy. And this policy should be in line with your context, your strategy, right? But here, this ISO TS 22163 wanted that this two particular requirement must be addressed in your quality policy. Failure prevention and customer expectation. This two requirement must be addressed. This is one additional requirement here. Then safety policy. It is not employees health and safety policy. This is product safety policy. The organization must establish, implement, maintain, communicate a product safety policy. No, IATF asks you should have a requirement for product safety. That's it. That's a process. But here we're talking about policy. Look at the role of leadership. Who will establish quality policy? Who will establish safety policy? Look at the word here. Top management has to establish, implement, maintain, communicate a safety policy specific to products, railway products. Then this is one unique requirements. There are a lot of processes in your organization. Top management needs to appoint process owners. Look at the word appoint. They have to appoint process owners. They are the owners for documenting communication of any updates in the document, and they have to empower the representatives independent from their process, and who is having authority to stop production in case of any quality or safety issues. If the process owner is not available, then who is the delegate? Whether they are aware about this, whether this is documented. No, this is not at all relevant to MR. This is different. Each process owner, look at the terminology, process owners. You have a lot of process in your organization: engineering, business development, production, quality, purchase, right? So for these processes, who are all your process owners? So top management has to appoint those process owners, and the process owners are responsible for the process compliance, which means tomorrow if your process is not following the requirements, or you're not conforming to this IRIS requirements, then they are responsible. So that's the importance of process owners. This is not just nominating a person as a department head or a department owner. So they understood what is the process, whether they are competent. So all those questions we need to ask when you are designing this rail quality management system. See? So there is no mandatory requirement for MR in ISO TS 22163. There is no need for MR. Okay, I'll put this question. People who are attending this session in your organization, if you are certified for IRIS, do you have a position called as MR, management representative? In your organization, do you have MR? I'm talking about railway quality management system organization. Yeah, nothing wrong, you can have. The standard doesn't restrict that you may not have MR or you cannot have MR. You can. It's up to the organization decision. But the process owner is different, and MR is, the role of MR is different. You differentiate. But look at this, process owner needs to have empowerment, correct? That's very critical key factor we have to consider. So nothing wrong, you can have MR or you may not have MR. That's your organization system, right? These are some few additional requirement in class 5. Now coming to class 6, planning. The risk-based thinking, correct? That is precisely addressing under class 6. So initially in 4.1, you have identified who are all your interested parties. What is your context, right? In 4.1, 4.2. So take this as an input, then determine what are all the risks, what are all the opportunities. And this has to be done in a systematic manner. But here we have some supplemental additional requirements. What are those additional requirements? We must have a documented risk management process. Very few standard mandated this risk management process must be documented. Then this IRIS is one of the standards. And we have to periodically review and update the risks. And here very critical factor here is you have to involve your customers, your suppliers in the risk management process. That is actually a should requirement. And we need a CFT approach, again multidisciplinary team approach. Consider cost of quality deficiency, right? That is also we have to consider here when you do your risk management process. Then there is one more additional requirement here, that is contingency planning. Based on your business risk, validate, review your contingency plan. So now we are exactly a position to go back and relook our contingency plan, right? Because of this COVID crisis. So if you want to outsource any process, again consider contingency for that outsourcing processes. So what could be a business risks? They have given some examples in the standard. You have to consider all these things. Few things are mandatory. Mandate point you have to consider. Then we should have a safety objective, product safety objective. Consider 4W and 1H question when establish a objective. Smart approach, right? Here there is no mandatory requirement. What is the frequency of reviewing these contingency plan? It's up to the organization to decide. It's your own process, you decide. Then business plan. This is very crucial requirement in the standard. You must have a business plan and you must review that annually at least. And you have to consider all these aspects in your business plan. A lot of mandatory requirement you have to consider here. What is your business objective? What is your strategy of your product and market? What is your budget? So this is the only standard, as far as my knowledge concerned, who asked about budgeting. Because the railways runs on a lot of project management approach, right? So tomorrow, if Indian Railways launched Tejas Rail, do we have a budget to support that particular rolling stock what you are supplying? Tomorrow, one metro project has launched, and you are going to be the one of the rolling stock supplier. A contract is awarded to you. Do you have a budget for it? So there is one requirement: your business plan must consider the budget planning too. And consider this merger, acquisition, outsourcing, and the transfer of the processes. And what is the impact of change in technologies? What is the impact on statutory regulatory requirement? So these are all the various factors we have to consider when you do your business plan review. So this is one unique requirement in ISO TS 22163 business planning. Then class 7, support. So this is overall resource management, right? There are various resources we are utilizing or we are planning for our organization. So how we are going to manage that? Make sure the right resource, adequate resource are identified, deployed. There is one more unique requirement here called as organizational knowledge. The earlier version of standards, we are using different word like documents, records, even quality manual. So a lot of terminologies we are using. The word document and records are now replaced by this one particular word, documented information. That's the term we see throughout the standard. Now coming to IRIS specific requirement. You have to determine and provide necessary resources for QMS and executing your process and executing your projects. It may be any resources. Consider your order forecasts, risks. In that context, we have to review our resource plan. Then people, again, determine and provide necessary people for your QMS to run your projects. Similarly, for infrastructure and work environment. We look at the difference, it's very clear. For people, for resources, it is primarily focusing on quality management system. When it's come to infrastructure and work environment, the primary focus is on product conformity. Then monitoring, measuring resources. See, this particular requirement has evolved a lot. Initially, we call them as monitoring, measuring devices. Later, it was moved to monitoring, measuring equipment. Now it is called as monitoring, measuring resources. We have to prove that whatever monitoring resource we are using in our organization, they are fit for their purpose. So either you verify them or calibrate them or do both. It's up to you to decide. But here we have very few requirement. If you are using any software for your monitoring, measuring purpose, consider that also. Is my audio clear? Okay, get mixed replies. Okay, let's see. So we need to have some risk management for Zoom tool also. Let's see. Okay, this organizational knowledge, this is a completely new requirement. Typically, even before ISO 9000 was introducing this organizational knowledge, there was a requirement in IRIS earlier version, knowledge management. So this organizational knowledge, here they do have a supplemental requirement. So based on your project experience, what gone wrong, what gone right, consider that. Knowledge transfer, that is very crucial in railway business. If a person is moved from one project to other project, or he left that organization, what is that methodology you have for knowledge transfer? It is not just exit interview, it goes beyond that. So what do you mean by knowledge? Organizational knowledge. The term is very important to understand. What do you mean by organizational knowledge? Can anyone? Organizational knowledge. Skill, capability of the organization, technical knowledge, understanding the process, written on experience. See, when you are working for an organization, you are gaining a lot of knowledge from your work, right? That knowledge we need to utilize for the organization benefit, correct? So it is purely knowledge gained on the work experience, that knowledge to be addressed, right? Then competence. Here we should have a process for competence. Documented process is mandatory. So identify how we are going to identify the skill gap, how we are going to meet that skill requirement. It covers all the people working in the organization, either permanent employees or temporary employees, whoever. And this one is very crucial requirement. You need to prove that the participant has understood the content of the training what you are delivered. It is not just a training feedback form. This particular word is a shell requirement in the standard. You must prove that people are understood the subject and acquired the particular competence, and you consider your non-conformities, customer complaints for this. Then awareness. So everyone in the organization must aware about various requirements. Here the critical requirement is product safety. Ethical behavior is not the standard requirement. I have just added here because that is the best practice that is needed for the hour. Maybe we can see next revision of ISO TS 22163. We may include this word ethical behavior. This is very crucial. Everyone in the company should aware about what is their contribution to achieve product safety, to achieve product safety objective. So this awareness we have to create. Then some more specific requirement on documented informations. What is the hierarchy we are going to use in your organization? Who is going to review a document? Who is going to approve a document? Determine the record retention in line with the customer contractual requirement. Can you just tell what is the lifetime of a particular railway product, a rolling stock? Can anyone in your organization who are certified for IRIS, how many years you are going to retain or maintain the records? 35, 30. It depends on the product you deal, right? So try to discuss with your customers. Typically it goes still the contract or the project is active, right? So in that context we need to consider. And you have to maintain the electronic documents. That is very crucial. Nowadays every company is moving towards industry 4.0 ERP. So how we are going to manage this? So when you are establishing QMS, apply this, how you are going to deal with the electronics items, electronic documents. So these are all the some unique requirement in 7. So now we are going to see the core class.